Whatever lights you up, whatever is lighting you up right now, including the things that you're lit up to let go of, trust it. So much beauty is on the other side of you just simply trusting that. The great mystic poet Rumi said, "Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it." And I think that's the secret to feminine energy. And I didn't know it at the time, but looking back over the past year, I can see that all the things my soul led me to quit, to shed, to let go of was really about that. Removing the barriers, the protective layers around my heart that just kept love out. And I know there's more work to do, but I hope that sharing these things with you, that you see the possibility that maybe it won't be so bad or so scary or too hard for you to finally let go of the things you know you really want to let go of. My soul actually knew for a long time that these things weren't really good for me, but it took until this year to finally begin to release them. So if anything, I hope me sharing my 10 things that I let go of in 2024 gives you fuel for your things that your soul is truly ready to let go of. Let's dive in. So yeah, the first cigarette I had was like I was 24 years old and went through a stage of eating Twizzlers, smoking cigarettes, popping Adderall, and loving life because you're 24 and you can get away with that shit. But when you're 44, you can't. Newsflash, smoking is bad for you. Don't do it. I know what you might be thinking. It is almost 2025. What were you doing smoking cigarettes? Well, I like them. What can I say? I like a cigarette. And I picked up the habit at the end of 2023. My husband and I did it together. We became full on smokers by June. Smoking for me became a physical addiction, but it started off as a novelty and a way to romance life. As odd and as not good life advice as that sounds, it is true. It was a way that my husband and I romanced our life and flirted with each other, and we would bond, and we loved it. I mean, it began like moving to Spain, and we were so stressed out, and so we would sneak a cigarette at night and just go for a walk around the park after we'd been packing all day. And it was just a sweet way to bond because it was such a stressful time. And then we landed in Europe, and everyone was smoking. It was just so sexy, and everyone is looking gorgeous, even in their 60s with a cigarette in their mouth. And so we were tempted, and it became a fun thing for us. And I loved the way he would light me a cigarette. First, he would light it in his mouth and he would hand it to me. And in those moments, I just felt so cared for and so loved and so feminine and just romanced. So that was great for a while. Smoking together was a cheeky little romantic thing until it wasn't. It definitely shifted into an addiction. And despite me living my dream in Europe, I found myself craving the next cigarette. Towards the end of our smoking stint, it was the thing I look forward to most during the day, and that was a problem. I did not want to live that way. The buzz was always short lived, and I always felt gross and guilty afterwards. And of course, it took its toll on my endurance, my lungs, my heart, and my face, my wrinkles, ugh, all of that. So it's no bueno. Duh, no bueno. Vaping included, ladies, so don't think you can get away with vaping. The first month was fun, but after that, body and soul were just like, please quit. So finally, 6 months into the game, I did. So did my husband, and our short lived love affair with cigarettes was over. Now, alcohol, that's a bit more complicated. While I don't have the same relationship with alcohol that my husband does, he considers himself an alcoholic and has been sober gratefully from alcohol for over a decade. My relationship with alcohol has been kind of complicated and very nuanced. I don't like being drunk, but I absolutely love a little buzz and love, love, love the taste of wine. Love it. It feels very sensual. It feels very feminine. It feels like I can settle into my body and just appreciate life. But if I'm being super honest with myself, alcohol doesn't work with my brain. I just don't feel as good when I am regularly drinking, even if just one or two glasses a day. Whenever I get into that kind of normalcy around drinking alcohol, I never feel my best. And when I look back at the times in my life where I truly felt like I was thriving, what they all have in common were periods of sobriety. My life just works better when I'm not drinking There's more upward spiraling when I'm not drinking, more positivity, more possibility, more just like sense of like being connected to who I am, being connected to my feelings, letting them flow, letting them process, all those good things. So, alcohol is something that numbs me and generally tends to bring me down. So, I'm deciding to let it go for the end of the year and we'll see how long afterwards. Just wanted to pop this in here. I'm editing the video now, and there's another thing I want to include around what I let go of that has improved my health. And it's this: I let go of mainstream media for the news, especially. Now, I've never been much of a news girl, so this wasn't a huge thing, but I just formally decided, yep, I'm no longer participating in this. Making that empowered decision has felt very empowering. It's felt like, yes, I am a full grown woman. I get to decide what I consume. And if what I'm consuming is only creating more anxiety, more fear, more doom visions of the future, then that is not for me. I learned something interesting. I mean, we all know that what we consume affects our mood. What we see on our screens affects how we feel. And unfortunately, those who create the news knows that when we are activated, when we are in a state of fear or anxiety, we are going to be more hooked. And as an embodiment coach, I know that that state of dysregulation is no bueno to stay in. We cannot access our best self when we are in a dysregulated state. So much about manifesting and becoming the woman you desire to be is about regulating your nervous system. So, I highly recommend you take a close look at where you're getting your news from. And if it's giving you a sense of anxiety, stress, and doom about the future, really question it. Finding more balanced sources of news, long form podcasts, interviews, Substack articles. I feel so much better. I feel so much agency returned to me. And for the first time in over a decade, I actually have a sense of hope and possibility for the future of my country. I know, so crazy, right? Trump is our president again. But that's just how crazy of the time we live in. And remember that you deserve to have a sense of hope and optimism about the future. That sense of hope and optimism is not only important for how you feel and your physical health, it's also going to play a huge role in what you're able to manifest and the relationships that you get to enjoy in your future. The best part about not getting my news from mainstream media is that I feel like I have the space to grow as a person. I'm no longer feeling so polarized, so triggered. So there's space for me to evaluate arguments and to think critically and to really get in touch with my values and what I believe and to move forward from a sense of hope and vision for the future instead of just reacting out of fear. I know from personal experience in my family that this can be a very triggering issue: politics, news, all of that. So I'm not going to say any more about that. Let's jump into the fun topic of identity, beauty, and hair. I let go of being blonde. Truth be told, that decision was made because my hair was so super damaged after so many years of changing it back and forth from dark to red to blonde to platinum, all the things, that my hair was in such bad shape, including all of the extensions. It needed a break. And my soul needed a break too from this identity. Being blonde kind of held me to this past version of myself. The hair is one of those things we can hide behind. I know I can. Something about just long blonde hair makes it so easy just to slide into a certain feminine archetype. And I do love that about hair. I mean, it's kind of a cheat code for femininity in a lot of ways. No one can argue that long hair is a key, a symbol of feminine energy. And I love it. But it's also not the only thing tied to feminine energy and femininity. So for me this past year, it just made sense. Cut the hair, dye it back to a more natural color, and see what comes through. Hair is also so spiritual. I mean, it holds our past, right? So by chopping it all off, for me, it was just a symbol of release. That I am new. I am not the same woman I was before, even though I love her. And there are things about her maybe I want to borrow and tap back into in the future. But right now, the short brown hair feels really good. I got my first Botox injection from a Groupon. Gave me Spock face for a couple months. I kind of loved it. But I couldn't never get my eyebrows to raise that same height ever again. But I got Botox probably 10 years ago, and I used to get it every year, then every 6 months, and then, that changed to every 4 months. And then lo and behold, I'm getting it and spending like $500 to $1,000 every 3 to 4 months. So not only was it a very expensive habit, The end, I hated the way it made me feel dependent on something outside of myself to be presentable. Yeah, it wasn't even about beauty for me at the end. It was just like, I am afraid that if I don't do this, my face is going to melt off. So when I moved to Spain, I no longer had an injectionist, and I wasn't about just to walk into any old shop because I did that once for eyelash extensions and lost all of my eyelashes. It was a shit show. Be careful where you go when you're in a new country. Do your research. So I thought this might be a good time to take a little bit of a break, to not get the Botox so often. I am not swearing off Botox for good. I love it. I think it truly helped me with my mood. You know how they say there's resting bitch face? Well, all through my teens and 20s, I had resting worry face. I wasn't even worried, but I just had resting worried face. And of course, that lent to my predisposition for melancholy and anxiety. I remember so many times my husband would ask me early in our marriage what was wrong. I was like 26 years old and I would these like worry wrinkles. There wasn't anything wrong, but I was just like in that existential state of worry. And so, getting the Botox and relaxing those muscles, it's amazing how much our body holds these moods. And when I couldn't make that same worry face anymore, I didn't find myself in that state of consciousness as often. So, I'm not here to tell you not to get Botox. I'm just telling you this is something I let go of this past year. I created space for me to have a new relationship with my face and with beauty and with aging and to not be afraid. I think that whatever you do, whatever you decide to do for your skincare, for beauty, for aging, it should come from a place of empowerment and love and not from a place of pressure or fear. Letting go of one sided friendships. Not easy, especially when you deeply love the person. But it was just one of those things, another nudge from my soul saying, doing things the way you've been doing things in this friendship isn't good for you. And it's not good for them either. I heard this quote on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it was an AI generated Alan Watts quote. The video was called something like The Rarest Woman. And Alan Watts, or AI Alan Watts, described this woman like this: she is fierce in her integrity. Her kindness has edges. Her love has boundaries. She respects herself enough to walk away where she is not valued. That was really convicting for me. I know so many of you are probably like me, where you value having compassion, you value empathy, you value being able to see things from other people's perspectives. But when you find yourself always in that role and the other person is not meeting you ever halfway, that's when you maybe need to consider what's really going on. I don't like to burn any bridges or anything like that. The way I like to look at this is really letting it be, letting it be what it is, and keeping the door open for who knows what kind of relationship, healthier relationship, might be able to become possible down the line. One of the biggest things I let go of this past year was being the breadwinner of our family. It was not easy. It was a spiritual walk for me as much as anything else, and it was a huge leap of faith for my husband and I together. We've been married for over 15 years, and there were times in our 15 years where he was the breadwinner and times that I was. But the majority of the last 5 years, I really stepped into that role and I was the boss babe and I did it to the max. And at the time, I thought that's what I wanted, and it was what I wanted until it wasn't anymore. And then the past couple years, it just felt so off. And our marriage really suffered, and he was really suffering, and I was not my best in that role. So there's so much more to a marriage and happiness than just how much money you have. If you would have asked me 20 years ago if this was the path that I'd find myself at 45, the more traditional role of stay at home mother and stay at home YouTube, wannabe YouTube creator, I'd be like, heck no, no, I have bigger ambitions and goals than that. But this is what feels right for right now. We'll see what the future brings. But I love seeing my husband step into his own. And there's something about consciously taking the back seat and deciding not to be pushing so much, not to be the boss babe, that allowed him to step into his fullness. And I love watching him shine. He is killing it as a coach. Once upon a time, he was my Instagram husband and was always taking photos for me and, behind the scenes helping me out. And now I get to be that for him. And he has far surpassed me on Instagram, which just brings me so much joy to see him just rocking it. And he is so gifted. And so, yeah, I think in marriage, there's a time and a place for really going for your dreams, whatever those are. And then There's a time and a place for really supporting your partner and going for theirs. We did that this past year, and I'm so grateful. Our dynamic as husband and wife has really improved, and I've gotten to work on areas of myself that I just didn't have time for. I didn't have the energy for because I was so focused and then burnt out with work. So, letting go of being the breadwinner, this was a big deal for me. And here's what I found out on the other side of this. Maybe this will be surprising to you, maybe not. A study in Psychology Today shared that couples who follow more traditional roles in marriage are more likely to report higher levels of emotional intimacy and shared responsibility within the home. That's interesting. Marriage satisfaction tends to be higher in relationships where gender roles are more traditional, with both partners more satisfied in their respective roles. I think this is so personal, and every woman should be able to make this decision for herself without any pressure from the outside world. And oddly enough, I felt way more pressure to be the boss babe than I did to be the traditional wife. I don't think I'm traditional by any stretch of the imagination, but me leaning into what feels a little more traditional has helped me access areas of myself that I didn't have access to before. The main reason why I quit being the breadwinner is because Soul was like, this is not your role anymore. You are doing this from pure ego, from a fear, and from a need to perform. It is not coming from me. Soul is the boss, and I really try to live my life according to Soul. But it's hard to listen. It's hard to take leaps when Soul is like, no more of something. Whew, the ego has to humble itself. And so that's what part of this letting go year has been for me. Another big thing I let go of this past year was social media. For many years, it meant a lot to me. I found myself on Instagram. I evolved into my womanhood and shared that experience. Instagram was a place for me where I really got to learn how to express myself and find myself and discover myself in new ways. And it was a huge part of my life. So many of my closest friends came from Instagram, my community, almost all of my clients. So it was a huge part of my life for a good 10 years. Leaving social media, it's kind of been a long time coming. You know, when the party's over, but you just can't go home. That's how it felt for me for the past couple years. And I just didn't feel it anymore. Again, it was a soul thing being like, this isn't your place. It felt like a ball and chain being tied to Instagram. Felt like feeding a beast that was never satisfied. In my whole history with Instagram, I have taken many breaks away. I began this personal project called the Just Be Here With Me project, and it was about digital Sabbaths, taking a regular digital Sabbath at least once a week and throughout the year for more than a day at a time, for a week or a month at a time. And I have been practicing that since 2014 or 15. But this feels different. I haven't been on Instagram for 6 months and I don't really have plans to come back, but it also wasn't a formal cutting off. It was just a kind of a natural growing apart, shall we say? You know how some friendships, you don't need to make like a formal announcement, like, we're not going to hang out anymore. You just slowly grow apart and you don't see each other. That's kind of how it feels like for me on Instagram. And I'll tell you on this side of it, of just letting go of social media, I don't do any social media. It is so freeing not to be in that scroll, not to be bombarded by all that noise, by all that comparison, by all that content. I mean, really, it's just too much. For me, it's too much. Part of being a successful human being is deciding on what your relationship with social media is going to be. You get to define that relationship. And when you want to step away, you are fully empowered to do so. If you are someone like me whose business comes from social media, I know how hard that is. And I'm not here to tell you what to do or how to do it. I'm just telling you, you can trust yourself. You can trust your soul. And if there is part of you that just is so not aligned with one of those platforms anymore, really ask yourself, like, maybe there's freedom. Maybe there's another way. Maybe I don't need to be here. I learned that I don't. And it's been so, so nice. And of course, the biggest thing I let go of in 2024 was my home. My family and I left the United States December 31st, 2023, and we arrived our first day in Spain January 1st. Moving to Europe has been a dream in my heart since I was 13, 14 years old. Honoring that dream is huge. We risked it all in the name of love, literally. It was a huge leap of faith for us to leave everything we knew and to move to Spain with just 2 suitcases apiece. What I've learned this past year is that risk is definitely worth it. When you risk it all in the name of love, when you bet on your future self, miracles happen. And miracles have happened for us since we've been here. There are always angels right when you need them, angels and guides, and you are never alone. So I hope that's encouragement to you to make a big leap maybe this next year, to let go of the familiar, whatever feels comfy and maybe a little stifling. Like, your soul knows what she wants. She is guiding you, she is nudging you. And I'm just here to encourage you to take the leap and to trust her. So here's a recap. 2024 is about dismantling the walls around my heart. Walls of habit, walls of fear, walls of self-protection, walls that were just an older version of me. When Rumi said, your task is not to find love, but to find and remove all the barriers you have built against it, you capture the essence of what I've been learning. Love isn't something you need to chase. It's something you allow. It's something you are. The heart of feminine energy and the heart of our desire to feel more feminine, feel softer in our life, is to feel love, to be able to experience love, to be able to share love, and to be love. Right? By letting go of these 10 things, I've created more space, and I am creating space for love. For me to be love, to embody love in ways I never imagined, never knew I could. And my hope is by sharing what I've let go of, it inspires you to take a look at your life too, and to have the courage to let go of the things your body and your soul is ready for you to release. You deserve all the love, to feel all the love, to feel that connection and that joy and that purpose and that presence. Let's make 2025 the year that we embrace that. And that brings me to the last thing I'm letting go of, which is YouTube. And no, not for good. I really want to grow this YouTube channel in a way that supremely serves you. But I'm letting go of YouTube and all content creation for right now because, if I'm being honest, I kind of lost my way. I think I need some time to integrate how big this past year has been, to catch up with myself. I think that there's so much that has happened, and in all of our lives, so much has happened. It's good to take a time away, to digest, to reflect, and to integrate. And hopefully, when I come back in 2025, what I have to bring you will be that much better, that much stronger. And my goal personally is to grow creatively on YouTube and to serve you in a way that not only serves the algorithm, because we got to serve the algorithm. That's how you found me, we got to serve that beast too, but to also serve my soul in a way that feels like a match for the woman I am now. And I think that's what we're all up to, right? We're all learning to feel into who we are now and how to honor her and show up as her in every single area of our life. So if you're on that journey, I'm on that journey too, and I'm so glad you're here. I just want to thank you for being here and sticking to the end of this video. Thank you for subscribing if you haven't done that. If you are a subscriber, I love you. Thank you so much. You make this so meaningful to me. Thank you for all your comments and your DMs and those who have supported me through the purchase of my courses, all that, yada, yada. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I wish you an awesome December and an amazing start to the new year. And I can't wait to see you back here real soon. You know what I'm going to say? Whatever lights you up, whatever is lighting you up right now, including the things that you're lit up to let go of, trust it. You can trust it. So much beauty is on the other side of you just simply trusting that. Trust what lights you up, let go of the things your soul is ready to let go of, and get ready to have your best year ever. Mwah.